Hi, this is Becky Mullen with Pure Vitality, and in this lesson today I'm going to teach you how to cook beans from scratch and how to make them into hummus. It is so easy to cook beans, and most people use canned beans, but it's so easy to cook beans from scratch, and I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to want to soak any beans before you cook them, and the reason is because a bean is like a seed, and it's got certain things in it that basically keep it from germinating. But when you add water, like when you plant it in the ground or when you soak it in water, what that does is it starts the germination process and breaks down any enzyme inhibitors, and it also makes the beans easy to digest. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to put the beans in a pot or a bowl, and then you're going to add enough water to cover them by about an inch. Because they absorb so much water, you want to make sure there's extra water. And then you're going to let that sit at room temperature for 6 to 8 hours. And what I do is I just put a plate or a cloth over the bowl and let it sit overnight. And then what you're going to do is you're going to drain off that water through a colander the next day or that night. And then you're going to get them ready to cook. So you're going to put them in a pot, and you're going to add enough water to cover them by about an inch or so. And you can measure this by putting your finger down into the water, and when you just touch the chickpeas, the water should come up onto your finger at the first finger joint. And then I add a couple bay leaves. You can also add a garlic clove or two, and then you're going to turn on the heat so it can come to a boil. And then once it comes to a boil, you'll notice there's some foam that rises to the top. You're going to want to skim that off with either a skimmer or a slotted spoon. It's just going to add some flavors that you don't want to the beans. And here are our finished chickpeas cooking. And you don't add salt until the very end. So once the chickpeas are done and you've already tasted them to know that they're soft, then you add about a tablespoon or two of sea salt, stir it in, and let it sit, and the beans will soak up the salt from the liquid. Now we're going to take our finished chickpeas that are already cooked and go ahead and make them into hummus. So you're going to add them into a food processor. You're going to add about 1/8 of a cup of tahini, which is ground up sesame seeds. Then you're going to add about a teaspoon of cumin. And I added salt here, but you want to be careful with salt since you already added it to the chickpeas. So you might want to taste it before you add salt. Then I put in some whole garlic cloves, the juice of about half of a lemon, and then you add a little bit of olive oil. You could also add some hot sauce. You could add herbs. You could add like roasted red bell peppers to make it red bell pepper hummus. But all you do now is you just blend it up in the food processor until it is well blended, and you don't want it to be too thick, but you don't want it to be too thin either. So when you add the olive oil and the water, it should be about the consistency of a bean dip. You want it to be slightly coarse. Alright, and here's what our finished hummus looks like. Hummus is very versatile. It can be a great dip for fresh vegetables. You could also use flatbreads or pita breads with it, and you can also add it to wraps where you take like a tortilla and you use the hummus as a spread. You could also just have it as a side dish. It makes a great vegetarian meal. So that's how easy it is to make hummus. You can do the same thing with any other beans like black beans or pinto beans. Once you've cooked the beans, you can add them to any recipes. This was just an example of how to cook chickpeas, but you can do the same thing with any type of dried bean. I hope you learned a lot in this lesson today, and you will have the confidence you need to make your own hummus from scratch. See you next time.